Welcome back to ChatChit. We are now in season 2026, round 0, opening round, pre-round 1, whatever you want to call it. It's in the books and footy is off and running. We had our Swans kick off the season with an enormous win, the rivalry match, the biffo all across the ground throughout the match. You had the reigning premiers, the back-to-back premiers, get upset by a very exciting looking Bulldogs team. We're going to dive into those two games in particular, but then Gold Coast we're also going to talk about. Are they the premiership favourites now? They look just proficient on a different level all across the ground. There's so much to talk about. We're very excited that footy is back. Roll the intro.
Absolutely pissing down here at the turn. Marcus has kicked up. Jesus! Usain Bolt wouldn't get him now.
The legend becomes immortal.
Well, I think the AFL got exactly what they wanted from that opening round fixture. Round 0, contentious. No one's really sure if they want it. Sydney Carlton, first game up. We got a really feisty affair. It was a low-scoring first half. And then the Swans showed exactly why they wanted the premiership favourites going into 2026.
Yeah, I heard someone make a good point that AFL were smart to fixture it in Sydney because otherwise Charlie Curnow might not have made it out of the ground alive with all the Carlton fans there. But yeah, with it hosted in Sydney and the way that third quarter went, most of the Carlton fans were not in the stadium by that final siren. Now, we can talk about the first half. The Swans were incredibly sluggish. I think Swans fans are very grateful that they were able to get out of that rut because it looked very concerning.
Yeah.
Carlton were on top of the contest and then they were winning all over the ground. But then what happened in that third quarter? 75-point third quarter, the third highest in Swans history.
Yeah, well, we saw Errol Goulden not really feature in the middle at the start of the game. He was starting a lot in the forward line, wasn't really around those centre bounces. What do we see? The first bounce after half-time, it was Heaney, it was Goulden, and it was... McInerney. Yeah. But mainly, Goulden was the key here. Hadn't really been in centre bounces, and I think we did not lose a clearance on it. If the ball never came up quickly, Carlton's way in that third quarter, whenever Goulden was in the middle, and he just decided to turn it on. When he turned it on, the entire team came with him.
Yeah, I think there's been a perception within the Swans that Goulden is more of an outside player, with Heaney and Warner being more contest players, but I think that's no longer the case. Maybe it was the case, but Goulden has worked on his game to such an extent that he needs to be in the guts. He's just too good not to be there, and he's such a good runner that he's not going to be successfully tagged, I don't think.
Yeah.
He just has to be in the guts for as much of the game as we can, especially in important moments. It was just so... I've never seen such a noticeable difference between someone being in the centre bounce and someone not.
I do think it's worth talking about that first half because in previous years, the Swans have been very slow starters. Like we know 2 years ago when they ended up making the grand final, it was always coming back. They would always have a really bad first quarter and fight their way back. Last year, they'd start badly and weren't able to recover. This year against a better team, Carlton should have been up 4 or 5 goals going into half time. A better team like Brisbane next week, they're not going to probably let those chances go to waste. Going behind 5 to 6 goals early isn't exactly the way you want to start it. It is the first game.
I will say, the last time that our team was at full strength without injuries and everything was under a different coach, and the team's changed quite a bit since. Yeah. So I'm going to hold back on criticism of the first half so far. Just say that was first game of the season. We're going to give him a pass on that, and we'll see if it becomes a pattern.
What's really exciting is, I'd say Wiedering had a really good game, and Curnow still kicked 3 goals too.
Yeah.
Like, the other forwards didn't quite get going. I know Amadi kicked a couple, Logan wasn't great, except you just think as those forwards start to gel together, as Papley gets a bit more fit, Malcolm Roses gels into the Sydney team, a really exciting player. They're just going to start working each other out, and they're going to start kicking goals. They're going to be a really high scoring team this year, Sydney.
Yeah, and from a Carlton perspective, Jagger Smith, obviously extremely exciting. The guy's going to rack up probably 30 disposals a game for his entire career from the outset.
Yeah.
Sam Walsh also looks like a reborn player, like he's going to charge and be at an All-Australian level. Other than that, it looks like they're good around the contest, but if they're not dominating around the contest, they haven't got much else. I think they don't really have the developed talent at this point to be a team that is strong on the outside compared to those top teams competing for the premiership. So it's not going to be a huge year for Carlton unless we see something crazy. But now we're going to move on to what was maybe an even better game this round, Brisbane versus Bulldogs, where the Bulldogs pull off a miraculous fourth quarter comeback.
Well, I will say I didn't expect this. We know the Bulldogs' defensive struggles, and we know that Brisbane, they're just so good offensively. We just thought this was going to be a close game, But Brisbane were ultimately going to get the victory, especially at home. First game of the season, crowd behind them. And they had a lead in the fourth quarter, but I mean, the Dogs fought back really well, and their talent just really shone above Brisbane's in that game.
It feels like, and this was the case last year, it feels like the Bulldogs can only beat good teams if the other team's going to score 100 plus points and the Bulldogs have to still beat them. And that's what they were able to do on this occasion. Tight moments late in the game, and fair play to them. But they make it hard for themselves with how they defend and how they're set up back there. I think I'm a little bit of a hater when it comes to their defensive system, and I know that it's a common opinion at this point. But the Bulldogs did need this badly. Can they contend for a premiership with this back line? Do they have enough back there? We can only go and see. Last year, they kicked the most points in the competition. They had a percentage of about 140, and they still missed finals. So maybe there'll be a new and improved team in their defense, in their back line this year, but it'll be exciting to see, that's for sure.
Look, they're going to play finals this year, especially with being top 10. Being top 10, they're gonna play finals, and they're a sort of team that you think can beat any team on their day, but you do worry that the fact that they're getting 100 points scored against them against the top teams will come back to bite them in finals, because you feel like they're not going to be able to do that game after game after game against quality opposition.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. We know Brisbane are a very, very talented offensive team.
Yeah.
I mean, they scored 100 points. Dogs got the victory, but first game of the season, we're not really sure how the season will progress.
And from a Brisbane perspective, are we thinking what? Hangover, fire Fagan, trade the Ashcroft brothers? What are we thinking?
Well, I mean, there was 3 suspensions to come out of that game as well, which is massive going into the Swans game next week. But I don't think it's really panic for Brisbane at this point. First game of the season, they got better since last year. I mean, their team on paper got better. Look, if they start a little bit badly, they had a shorter preseason than any other team with the grand final victory. I don't think there's anything to worry about with them. Whether they don't finish on top, whether they don't finish second, you'd think they're going to be in and around that 4 to 6 position at worst.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely still the team to beat this year. The fact that they have 3 suspensions, including 2 of their All-Australians last year, Andrews and Bailey, plus McCluggage just ruled out with a calf against Sydney. Going to be very tough to beat an exciting Sydney team, so they could easily go 0-2 here, and they're going to have to show some personality as a team against some adversity here, because in this league it can be very difficult to recover from early bad starts to a season. But I just wanted to have one sort of negative shout out on another game before we jump into our top 5 players. We're going to be talking about Gold Coast a lot this season. I think they're the closest team to Brisbane this year. They're the main competitors for Brisbane. I think Gold Coast have an unbelievable list and they're playing fluent football. And yet they were not able to fill out the stadium, their fans, in opening round with a team that did so much for them last year. The fans have got to be better, or whatever the marketing team, whatever the system is that's going on there. The fans have got to be getting out to watch the Gold Coast team in 2026. It's maybe the best team in the league.
It was a little bit disappointing to see the empty seats when we were watching the game against Geelong. You'd think now maybe fans have seen what they're capable of, even though we expected that more fans should start to flock to games, and you'd think they'd start selling out, especially start winning and see the top of the ladder. But yeah, I agree. It was a little bit disappointing. But we'll move into the top 5 players of the round. I'll kick us off. In number 5, I had Jake Stringer. And let me remind you, he is in his contract year. And we know Jake Stringer, when he's in his contract year, is one of the best players in the league. We saw the exact same thing at Essendon. But 5 goals, 4 behinds. Could have been a bigger game, but it was a really good game from Jake.
Yeah, it was. He was everywhere, all over the forward 50 for GWS. Number 5, I had Nick Daicos. He was just Nick Daicos. I really hope he gets his Brownlow medal this year. I hope he stays fit. Look, I didn't think Collingwood were going to get over the line against St Kilda. I thought St Kilda had too much to play for early in the season, too much to prove, and that Collingwood were a year older with the oldest team in the league. But Nick Daicos led them to a victory with 41 touches despite a hard tag.
Yeah, I'll go into my number 4. I had Justin McInerney at number 4. It was his highest ever rated career game. He was that fire starter in the third quarter, kicking 3 goals. Probably should have kicked a 4th as well. Probably his easiest shot to kick the 4th goal. But he was really good. He was sort of taken out of the middle a little bit going into that third quarter. Sort of that half forward role, which seems like it really suits him. Just being able to get the ball on the run, either kicking it inside 50 or kicking towards goal, really worked for him. It was a really, really, really good game.
Yeah, I have him at number 3. And I think it was a little bit deceiving that he played quite a bit of midfield time, but I think all his best work was done when he was floating forward. And it's so exciting what he's going to contribute to the Swans this year.
The new 5-year contract as well. What a way to back it up.
Yeah. It's some fans were doubting that, but he's just proved all of them wrong.
Yeah.
I think we're very fortunate that we have enough midfield depth this year that we'll be able to find out where Juzzy suits best, because clearly the Swans see that he's such a good runner, such an exciting, creative player, that if he can put it all together, these are the sort of games he can put out. Number 4, I had Clayton Oliver.
Yeah.
For GWS, what a way to show up in his debut for a new club. He was the absolute man at Melbourne, all the best and fairest, and the way that he was a leader for them in a premiership, and then he's faded off the last couple of years, but what a debut. 19 contested possessions, 7 more than anyone else on the ground, and 10 clearances. This was prime Clary, and I think he's only going to get better.
It's great to see him back at his best, and we'll talk about his partner in crime at Melbourne just in a little bit, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
My number 3, I had Nick Daicos. So in the lead-up, the media was, is Nasai Wanganeen-Malira better than Daicos? Well, they were both hard-tagged. Wanganeen-Malira got his first ever hard tag from Perryman, who killed him in that game. Followed him everywhere, wasn't able to deal with it. Garcia tagged Nick Daicos, and he still managed 41 touches at 75%, 11 score involvements. Again, like you said, St Kilda were favourites going in. They were expected to win. Huge membership numbers this year. St Kilda spent big money, and for Collingwood to come and do that to St Kilda in the first game really shut down the attacking threat that St Kilda have. Yeah. It was really impressive. So yeah, Nick Daicos, number 3.
For the Supercoach fans out there, Nazaya Wanganeen-Malira, one of my favourite players in the league, but he's a trap in Supercoach this year. He's going to have to learn to deal with a tag, and he's going to have a lot of low-scoring games.
And you best believe teams are going to go after him in each and every game this season based on what they saw in that game.
And it's because he's so good.
Yeah.
At number 2, I've got Ed Richards. And what more can you say about this guy? The way that he's shot up from being sort of a small defender and a bit of a distributor a few years ago, but everyone at the Bulldogs could see just how good he was. And now he's maybe a top 5 midfielder in the comp. He was All-Australian last year. He's maybe the best score involvements and going forward midfielder in the league outside of his teammate Bontempelli. They might just be the best 2 at it. And he had 16 score involvements this game, 2 goals and 30, clean as absolutely anything.
Well, he was my number 2, and all I wrote here in my notes was he was absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
He's like a quicker Errol Goulden. Yeah. He's a very similar player.
And despite that, he was nowhere near number 1. Christian Petracca with the game of his career.
Highest ever rated career game, by the way, as well.
And by a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, what can you say? It didn't look like anything we've seen from Christian Petracca since that grand final.
It was a little bit scary, actually, the fact that Gold Coast have added this quality to their team, and they've still got the Brownlow medal to come back in Matt Rowell, who was taking notes in his notebook on the sideline in the game. But to do that in your new team, when we thought Petracca may have slowly started fading away, to come and have your highest ever rated career game dominate the game against Geelong, I mean, Gold Coast are a real threat.
I think Rowell, Anderson and Petracca, I'm already going to say we haven't seen them all together, but in terms of who they are as players and how they play, is probably the best midfield 3 I've ever seen in my life on a team.
Yeah.
It's also how balanced they are. So these are all players capable of winning a Brownlow. And Matt Rowell already has. Petracca's come second a couple of times. But not only are they all that good individually, but Matt Rowell is the best tackle player in the league. Anderson is up there with the best running midfielders that can just run all day and win the footy. And then Petracca is going to...
bit of both, really. He's going to be that bulldozer in the middle, similar Patrick Dangerfield type. He's just going to go after the ball. He's going to get it on the run. He's going to make tackles.
And he'll end up with 40 goals this year.
Yeah.
Like he's just going to keep kicking goals. So what a balanced team that they have. And their midfield is just the start of it. So Gold Coast look incredible, and Petracca was just what they needed to maybe push over the line.
100%. We'll move into... We've both done a hot take. I'll start with mine. So, just based on what I've seen, Hawthorn will not make the top 8. I know people have been really high on them. Top 4 predictions, top 6 at worst. But will they missing the minimum first half of the season? We know it takes a while to come back after your injury goes away. No Warple in the middle. I know he was sort of a role player, but it does matter.
It does.
But... they're really light on midfield talent, and they were really outshone by GWS, who do have a good midfield, but they're going to come up against a lot of good midfields this year. And I know Gunston kicked 4 goals, but at 35, you probably don't think he could be able to carry them again in that tall forward region. If they don't have a Mitch Lewis, Marbior Chol, a Cole Shadir coming through and sort of taking the reins a bit, I just fear they're not going to be too dangerous going inside 50. And then I just feel like a defence can only get you so far.
Yeah. I think in our preseason predictions, I had Hawthorn in 4th, and I'm not fully off the boat yet, but what I saw scared me a bit. We've discussed a lot last season how the Hawthorn have maybe an incredible defensive unit and really exciting small forwards and tall forwards, but their midfield was just hanging on by a thread with the unavailability of Will Day and the lack of depth that they have. Even with Will Day, they don't have much depth in that midfield. Losing Warple and Will Day going and not being able to sign Merritt, it's all maybe been a perfect storm for their midfield to really struggle this year. Yeah. My hot take, I think Ollie Dempsey is the most exciting player in the competition.
Ooh.
4 goals and 20 disposals this week, and I am guaranteeing you he earns his first All-Australian blazer this year.
That's a hot take.
The first time in a few years that a true winger gets selected in the starting lineup of an All-Australian team.
I like it. You're a massive Ollie Dempsey fan.
I think he's electric. The last time I was this high on a player was Miles Bergman, and watch out for him this year. He's going to be playing a lot of midfield time for Port Adelaide. But I think Ollie Dempsey, we all know that as the next generation of Geelong rolls over, he's going to be one of the leaders. But right now, I don't think we have to wait any longer. I think now's the time for Ollie Dempsey.
I like it. We will do All-Australian predictions at some point in the next couple of weeks. Very, very early All-Australian predictions.
Yep.
But let's move into the first 2026 Footy Pyramid. And since it's based on form, I've only got players that did play in round 0, so it's going to change a lot next week. But I'll start in the 5th tier. I had Pendlebury in the 5th tier. Played very limited minutes, and he didn't play the first 20 minutes of the first quarter. He came on, I think his first 3 touches were all goal assists. Yep. He finished with 4 or 5 goal assists in very limited minutes. And I'm really excited to see how teams are going to use that extra player on the bench. We know that interchanges haven't increased.
Yeah.
So they're not just going to keep... There's always going to be that one player who gets less game time. In the Swans game, it was Papley. And they sort of used him. He had a little bit of impact.
Back from some injuries.
Working back from injuries. And I'm really... It's another... another tactic that coaches can go to. You think Pendlebury, if this rule stays, and I assume it will, you can see him playing almost 500 games, to be honest. Yeah. He'll break the record this year, but if he can play 50% game time, and he had a lot of damage when he came on, just so composed, doesn't matter, it just seems like he's got all the time in the world. But yeah, 5th tier. Josh Daicos as well, 5th tier. He was really, really good. Him and Nick just got so much for the ball in that game, really dominant with it. I had Charlie Cameron. Had a really good game for Brisbane. Hopefully back to his best form after a pretty quiet year last year.
That grand final looks like it might have sparked him.
Yeah. I had Dwayne Zorko as well in the 5th tier. Just had a good game. Did what he did. Got his 30-odd touches. I had Mark Pidnett as well. I think he had his career best game as well. I saw in rating and
snuck 3 goals.
I mean, it's scary that Carlton got a really low score and Pidnett kicked 3 goals because he's not going to kick you those 3 goals every week. Moving into the 4th tier, I had Errol Goulden in the 4th tier, had a really good game. Again, like McInerney, was a fire starter in the 3rd quarter, and just his kicking ability, just able to find gaps, even hand passing into space for players to run onto. I had Clayton Oliver in the 4th tier, really good game, hopefully back to his best. I had Jordan De Goey in the 4th tier as well, hopefully back to his best as well, kicked a few goals on limited minutes. I had Touk Miller, who we haven't discussed as well we didn't even discuss him in that Gold Coast midfield 3, but he was really good on the weekend. Moving into the 3rd tier, I had Marcus Bontempelli, just sort of did what he did and was still outshone by Richards, but he's going to do that every single game of the season.
Just 3 goals, 20 for Bont.
Jack Sinclair, I had it in the 3rd tier as well, had a really good game and was probably St Kilda's best player.
He's unbelievable.
And I had Justin McInerney in the 3rd tier, like we talked about earlier, just a really, really, really good game. In the 2nd tier, Ed Richards and Nick Daicos, we've spoken about them already. And on top of the pyramid is Christian Petracca. Let me know if you'd make any changes based on round 0. It's going to be a lot of changes next week when round 1 comes in, but you can see it all on your screen in front of you.
Now let's get into the power rankings. How good the power rankings are back. And we start with West Coast and Richmond. The 2 very young teams. They're rebuilding and they start at the bottom of the pyramid. And then it's not
It's
a
little bit disappointing, but I mean...
Essendon in 16th. Now, I'm very low on Essendon. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to recover from all of the off-season scandals and such. especially with all of the adversity that they have to face even outside of that. They had a lot of injuries last year. So I think their ceiling could really impress people. They've got some exciting young players. I think Essendon could be an interesting watch if they can keep fit. Now, North Melbourne in 15th, and it's very, very sad that they're down here. They're not meant to be here at this stage of the rebuild, but they just haven't shown us enough in previous seasons, and they haven't made exciting moves in the off-season to make us think that they're going to propel up the ladder.
It just has to be the year. It has to be the
year.
But
it doesn't look like it will.
I know you think this is Clarkson's last year to really show some progress. Like, what's a pass mark, you reckon?
What, you see the clip with Damo? Well, what does pass mark mean?
It means if they finish the season on this amount of wins, we're like, okay, they've made some progress.
They probably need 10 wins for that.
Okay.
Which I don't think they'll get.
I don't think they'll get 10 either.
Because there's too many strong teams in the comp.
Yeah.
But next up, I've got Melbourne. Look, also some exciting young players, and I think they got to view this as a rebuild, and they got to view Clayton Oliver and Christian Petracca leaving as an opportunity for some younger players to develop and shine. Your Caleb Windsors, your Cozzy Pickett, who had an amazing season last year. Obviously, they've got a new leader in Jack Steele, but certain Harvey Langford obviously is the one that everyone's talking about. So some players are going to become more pivotal to them this year, and it'll be exciting to watch, but I don't think they'll win too many games. Next up is Carlton, who I think are lucky to be this high because they're very strong in the contest, or can be very strong in the contest. They've got a good unit that can be in that midfield, especially with Jagger Smith in there, but outside of that, their outside ball use is just not strong enough. We discussed it earlier with the Sydney game. Port Adelaide in 12th, and it's almost a similar story that they have a very strong midfield, but particularly their forward line just didn't seem to be up to scratch last year, not kicking enough goals, not converting enough on their inside 50s, and look, unless we see some sort of big change from last year in game plan, maybe with a new coach, there'll be a whole different team. It'll be exciting to see if there's a new game style for Port this year. Next up is St Kilda, and to me, there's a big gap between 11 and 12. I see a really big 11 here, and St Kilda I'm high on. I think they make the 8 and could even fight for the 6, but they've got to prove it first. So for the power rankings, they sit in 11th. I really do think that as they learn to play together as a team, I expected a slow start with so many new pieces and new positions, but I really think that they'll come into their own and could jump up these power rankings. Collingwood in 10th. Yes, they were impressive against St Kilda. I'm still worried about their age and if they'll be able to be a consistently energetic team throughout the season. Adelaide in 9th. Now, they came first on the ladder last year, but their performance in finals was worrying. And from what we've seen historically, the two things that you can really get a hangover from are being pumped in a grand final, Swans, but unfortunately more often than we'd like to admit, and going out in straight sets. Going out in straight sets can really do something to a team. And I hope for Adelaide that's not the case, but they'll have to respond. Western Bulldogs in 8th. I think that out of these top 8 teams, they just have the biggest obvious hole being their defence. In 7th, I've got Hawthorn. Now, their hole is obviously their midfield, but I think that their defensive unit is so strong, and we've seen enough consistent football from them in the last couple of years to think that they should have should be making the top 10 and having a good crack at that top 6. GWS in 6th, who were very, very impressive week 1 with no Tom Green, who's been so important for them, and we know that they can be pretty stacked and have quite an experienced team now. They've just been so consistently good for about a decade plus. Fremantle in 5th. Now, this is the team that everyone sees really shooting up this year, along with the Swans. Now, Fremantle have been a solid finals/fringe finals team for a few years now, but this seems to be the year where they can put it all together. We've seen in the analytics that Hayden Young is maybe their most important player in terms of wins and losses, and he looks healthy now, no more injury trouble. They got one more year into the unicorn Luke Jackson, and maybe with Hayden Young in the midfield, Sarong might have a bit more freedom, who really could be their most important player this year. So it seems like they could put it all together. Very strong defensively as well, and they are a team to really watch this year. Geelong in 4th. Yes, they were underwhelming in round 0, but I think that had more to do with Gold Coast and how incredible they were than Geelong. And also, they were missing Jeremy Cameron and Patrick Dangerfield. Sydney in third. Now, I think Sydney are the best competitors this year to the big Queensland 2. And look, we're just absolutely stacked, aren't we? We have the best runners in the competition. The way that we move the ball is electric, and we got probably the quickest outside players in the comp. So if we can get the game on our terms, we're a hard team to stop.
Potential Coleman winner now.
Yes, yep. And we got about 4 potential Brownlow winners. Come on. Gold Coast in second. Now we've said a lot about Gold Coast, and I think that they have the best list in the competition and are the most complete team. However, I got Brisbane in first. You can't deny back-to-back premierships. It's a slow start. I expect them to go 0-2, and unless they get hammered by the Swans, they're probably going to stay one in the power rankings because, look, they have been so good for so long now, and the last 2 years, they just seem to have plateaued at the very top. So, with Andrews coming back in a few weeks, McCluggage eventually coming back, you expect them to steady the ship, even if they have a rocky start here. But they are absolutely the team to beat this year.
I like it. Let us know if you'd make any changes to the early power rankings. They're going to change a lot in the next few weeks as we start to see teams play their first games and teams try to back up their performances from round 0, round 1. Also, let us know who you think the best player in the AFL is right now. There was a lot of talk earlier. Was Nasai Wanganilira potentially the best player in the competition? Over Daicos, is Bontempelli still the best player in the competition?
I'm a Bont man.
I'm also a Bont man, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you think the best player in the competition is. Do you value the key forward? I know Kane Corns as Sam Darcy is his number 1 player in the competition.
There's absolutely a case you can make. Kane says some silly things, but how can you compare Sam Darcy to Bont or Nick Daicos?
Exactly, and we'll see you all on the next one.
Boom!